Hey, what's up YouTube? It is Melanie back with Melanie Loves Death Metal. Got a different video for you today. Gonna throw in two concepts into one, ranking a discography of one of my favorite bands, as well as showing you my vinyl collection that I currently have. So, ranking the discography of Between the Buried and Me, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. I absolutely love them. I still absolutely love them. And yeah, I have all their studio albums on vinyl. I have a couple of live albums and a couple of EPs and stuff, but for the most part, I'm just showing the studio live albums today. There's two exceptions to that, which we'll get into. But yeah, if you're not familiar, Between the Buried and Me is a progressive metal band. Started out a little bit more of the metalcore sound, but definitely has moved into more of that technical progressive metal sound. There's definitely death metal elements in there, but progressive metal is really what they hone in on. Phenomenal musicians. Some of the best music that I've ever heard in my life, gonna be honest with you guys. And like I said, I absolutely love this band. I have seen them live. I can't even count how many times. Like it's been at least over 10. I will say that. Phenomenal band live, just simply incredible. Everything they do is incredible. And I just really wanted to start off a video series like this with at least one of my favorite bands. And then while also ripping off other YouTubers, because I know that like so many other people do this, but I thought it would be fun to make these videos as well. So let's get started. Just so you know, when I say least favorite, that's not really saying much because I pretty much love everything by this band, but in terms of listenability and things that I pull out the most, that's kind of how I ranked them. So let's get started. So I'm going to start from the bottom, and then obviously my favorite will be the last. So unfortunately you got to wait for that. But first things first, I'm just going to go ahead and say, unfortunately, this is probably the one that I listen to the least amount. And it's funny because it's, you know, it's their debut album, just self-titled Between the Buried and Me. This is back when they were on Victory Records, which is no longer a thing. They were on Victory for quite a while, and I think they kind of ended on a sour note and then went to Metal Blade, and now they're on Sumerian. So yeah, I don't know if this is an original press. I think it might be like a second or third press. I don't remember. Victory repressed these a couple of times, but yeah, I mean, this is when they're just getting started. They really had that metalcore scene. The band members are completely different on here, with the exception of Tommy, and I think Paul was starting out on here. Just plain white vinyl on here. Nothing fancy. I mean, all around, there's definitely some good songs on here. The concepts are starting off with this band. Like, they're really just getting started. They're really starting to, you know, hone in and make a name for themselves on this band. But to me, like, it's probably one that I don't listen to a whole lot. Again, iconic as well. There's, you know, it's their beginning album. But for this band, in a rare occurrence, the beginning album is probably one of their weaker albums, which doesn't happen with all bands, but this band has progressed their sound so much that they've just gotten better with time. So this is one of those rare exceptions. Obviously, this is my opinion. Some other people will probably disagree with me. But yeah, self-titled, Between the Buried and Me, probably one of the least ones I listen to. But that's not to say it's not bad. There's definitely things about this album that I love, and there's things about this album that make me incredibly nostalgic. Because again, this came out when I was not even 20 yet. So yeah, you know, back in my high school days. Next up is again, studio albums is what I'm talking about, but I threw this in there because it's technically a studio album. But this is their covers album, Between the Buried and Me. The Anatomy of, Jesus says it right there. So yeah, this is just pretty much a whole entire covers album of their most influential bands for the most part. There's stuff on here that's from like Metallica and stuff like that. Pantera, there's a Pantera cover on here, Cemetery Gates, which is my favorite Pantera song. This is actually an incredibly hard vinyl to find. I don't know if they've ever repressed this. They might have, but I remember when I was collecting their vinyl, this was the last one that I got before they moved to Sumerian, just because it was hard to find. Again, out on, I think, did Victory put this out? I don't even remember. But it has this really cool way of working. It like splits in half, comes out this way. Kind of a pain to keep in good condition just because of how it is, but a nice color inner sheet. And then these are these orange vinyl. So it's a double LP. I'm not gonna pull out the other one just because, again, this is kind of a pain to put back together. Also not gonna re-sleeve this right now because it takes a minute. But yeah, Covers album, it's not their best stuff. There's some stuff on here that's not the greatest, and then there's some stuff on here that is pretty good. I would say in terms of the last time I listened to this, it's been a while. All right, so moving on into the discography, we have the Silent Circus. So yeah, this is their second full length. And some people might be surprised that this is so low into the list. My reason behind this is, again, the band is really just starting to find their way with this album. There's some stuff that's fantastic about it, which obviously Selkies is just, yeah. I mean, that song really is what, you know, put Between the Buried and Me on the map for me. And then I went and I started listening to their discography. And this album, like, yeah, it's got really good elements to it. Mordecai is obviously a great song. I'm just trying to think. It's been a while since I've listened to this. Yeah, but again, without blabbing too much, they're starting and they're getting there. They're getting there with what they want to do. Again, this is a Victory Records release. I think this also might be a repress. This is also a gatefold. I should also point out that Selkies is on another album. We'll talk about that, but that's what really got me into Between the Buried and Me. So, song titles, if you're not familiar. And I don't know if this is colored, actually. It's been a while since I pulled this out. Oh, it is. That's right. It's a double LP, as always, and it's this, like, green and white and black marbled. So I've had these vinyls for such a long time. I don't remember if they're first presses or second presses. I could have probably went onto Discogs and got all this information before I decided to record this video, but I'm not really big on the what number pressing I have. But yeah, this is one of the ones that I've had for a long time. So again, this is a good album. A lot of people love this album. Like I said, there's great songs on here, but at the same time, they're just still finding their form, and they're getting there. They're getting there. So next is, now we're going deep into the discography, deep into the releases, and this is next one, Automata II. So for the most part, this is their latest release. This came out back in 2018. This is now when they're on Sumerian Records. And I would say the way that this band has progressed into their career, this is definitely, it is a very good album, and I do really enjoy this. And when it came out, I loved it. But in terms of the rest of their discography and what I listen to, I don't listen to this that often. So now I know that as time goes on and as my ears get older, this might be something that I absolutely start to fall in love with and will rank up higher into my discography. But for now, it's relatively lower. Again, not to say it's a bad album, because it's not by any means. This is a very progressive metal album. Has just, this band writes beautiful songs in metal. Like, they're technical. They just are amazing musicians. So, and it's definitely shown on these albums. I've got this really cool splatter. So yeah, again, this is their latest release on Sumerian. Automata is a 2-part, like pretty much concept album that they put out on Sumerian. And again, not to say that I didn't like this album, because I really did enjoy it. I really did like it. It's just in terms of what I listened to for this particular band, not one that I frequent at the moment. So next up, is, I'm sure you can probably guess based off of that last one, is Automata 1. I prefer this one a little bit more over the second one. This came out in 2018 as well. They put these out the same year. So again, Sumerian Records, these are their two latest albums. They're amazing, I will say, and I like where the band is going within their progression. I'm excited to see what the new music sounds like, which I think they might have just wrapped up, or they might be starting. They're moving in and they're transitioning into a new form with these albums, and I personally, I love it. There's those iconic ones early on in Discography that I just love more. But again, not to say these are bad albums, because they're absolutely not. So this is also another incredible splatter variant. So yeah, this, I will say, these are good albums to jump into if you have not heard Between the Buried and Me. However, I want to caution, I would hope that it doesn't ruin any of the other albums for you, because like I said, there is quite a bit of difference between these and their earlier on albums that I have not gotten to yet. So all right, next up, we're getting into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're getting into the top 6 now. So number 6. And this was hard. These number 6 ones were hard because I really do love all these albums. So this took me some time to think through, but the number 6 right now is Coma Ecliptic. This came out in 2015. This is the final, I believe this is the final Metal Blade release that they had. Yeah, this is the final Metal Blade release that they had. This album is fantastic. It came out at a perfect time for me because I had just listened to the shit out of all the other albums, so it was really refreshing. I saw this tour, it was so much fun. These guys are great. I mean, there are songs on here that are just amazing, like Famine Wolf is amazing. The Ectopic Stroll, Memory Palace, Life in Velvet. Like, just, it's a very, very good progressive metal album. And they really start to progress their sound in here while still keeping some of their older elements. So, and then the artwork on these albums from Metal Blade are awesome. I feel like they were at a really good peak point when they were on Metal Blade. They released absolutely some of their best stuff while on Metal Blade. And then nice quality vinyls that we got. So the vinyl choice also has these printed inner sleeves. Like I said, just the images of this are great. And they did put out a live album of this. That is the only one that I do not have. Which I may go back and get because I do love Between the Buried and Me Live. It's this smoky vinyl. So yeah, this is a great album. Last release on Metal Blade. Not entirely sure like the story around that or why they moved to Sumerian. I don't think there was any bad blood. Just the contract might have just been up or whatever. But yeah, Coma Ecliptic, really, really good. Check this out if you have not heard it. Coming in at number 5, and like I said, this was tough. This was tough for me, but you know, I had to be realistic about this. So, number 5 is Alaska. Yeah, this is a Victory Records release. Alaska came out in 2005, and this album is incredible. It is definitely one of my favorite albums. As a whole, I still listen to this album quite a bit. This is probably one of my more valuable vinyls that I have in my collection in terms of collectability and cost until they repressed them, which is totally cool. The repressing that they did of this is incredible. It's this really awesome red double LP. I did not get it and I wish I had, but nonetheless, I think this is a second press on Victory Records. Victory, you know, they don't exist anymore, but we don't have to talk about them. But yeah, nice high quality vinyls. I had no issues with these considering they weren't the best label at the time. So this is a clear variant double LP. I will just pull out one. So there's that crystal clear, and the stickers are pretty much the same. Alaska. what to say about this album. This is what got me into Between the Buried and Me, as I think a lot of people can say that. This has been raved by critics. People have loved this album, had really good reviews, and like I said, Selkie's The Endless Obsession was probably the first single off of this album, the first song I had ever heard by Between the Buried and Me, and just was blown away. The song All Bodies, Alaska, there's just so many great aspects of this album, and this is where they really start to form. And I believe this is also when they got Dusty and Dan and Blake, so they're currently have not changed since this album. They had several people turn over before this album, but now they are Tommy, Paul, Dusty, Blake, and Dan, and they have not changed, and they really start to gel together, and just you can just feel it on this album. So this is iconic in discography. Like I said, in terms of influential albums in my life, this is definitely up there. I cannot tell you how many times I've listened to this album. So I love this album, but the other ones, crazy enough, I love more. So all right, we are getting to the final four. Number 4 technically is not a full length, but if you're a Between the Buried and Me fan, you know what I'm talking about. It goes with another album, and it was just fucking incredible when it first came out. Yeah, this is the Parallax Hypersleep Dialogues number 1, or episode 1 or number 1. So yeah, this goes kind of hand in hand with another album I'm going to talk about, but this is an EP. It's only 3 songs, but these 3 songs, if you know Between the Buried and Me, the shortest song is 9 minutes long. So there you go. It's a 29-minute long EP. Might as well just be a full length at this point. 3 of their best songs that they have ever written. This is incredible. This EP actually was incredibly hard to find when it first came out. It sold out, and then they finally repressed them recently, and I was able to snag them. So yeah, I love this. My favorite song on here is Lunar Wilderness. It's just a fucking incredible song, but Spectacular Reflection is also amazing, and so is Augment of Rebirth. So yeah, these 3 songs are incredible. And for an EP, it's really high up there on the discography for me. I know it's not a full length. It's got these nice printed inner sheets with lyrics. And again, this is a Metal Blade release. This is cool splatter variant. So love this album. Yeah, it's incredible. They were really into their space mojo right here. And it really was working for them, and just, this is like peak Between the Buried and Me for me. This is when I really started to go see them live, and I was able to, and just really started to, like, I was always in love with them, but this is really what solidified it for me, was this particular EP. Next up, my top 3, which if you're a Between the Buried and Me fan, you already know what ones I'm going to talk about. This was incredibly hard for me to pick out, because these are the top 3 that I listen to all the time still, that sat in my CD player of my car for I don't know how long. It was the only thing I listened to for a really long time, and then when I got it on vinyl, it wasn't any better. But number 3 is the Parallax to Future sequence. This obviously goes in hand with Hypersleep Dialogues. Fucking incredible ass album. Again, Between the Buried and Me is just at their best on this album. This album is fantastic, and it's a super nice double LP, gatefold, very nice pressing, and I do know for a fact that this is a first press, because I remember I pre-ordered it and I bought the shit out of it as soon as it was announced. So really cool pictures, and then that iconic owl. I'm sure you've seen that everywhere. Just space related. It's got some glossy and then matte coverage. This was my background on my computer for years, even on my phone. just everything about this album I love. Some of my favorite songs, all of them. Astral Body is just incredible. It was the first single that they put on this album, and they released a video which was like a 1080p YouTube video back then, which was a big deal. It's an awesome video. Go watch it. Goodbye to Everything. Just Lay Your Ghosts to Rest is incredible. Autumn's amazing. Extremophile Elite is an incredible song. Just Black Box. Silent Flight Parliament and Goodbye to Everything Reprise is just an epic way to end this album. So yeah, there's so many good things about this album that I absolutely love. And they just repressed these, and they're sold out, I've noticed. So I did not get any of those repressings. I'm satisfied with my first presses of the gray is one of them. And then the other LP is this nice blue. So again, amazing album. If you have not heard this, out on Metal Blade. They just repressed these, and I know that they sold out super fast, so you might have missed that if you were not on that, unfortunately. But if you have not heard this, definitely listen to this. This is a great album. Just, I love this album. It makes me so happy to talk about it. All right, number 2, and it might shock everybody that this is number 2, to be honest with you, because you probably thought this was going to be number 1, because I think this is most people's number 1 of Between the Buried and Me, and that is the iconic Colors. So, what's to say about Colors that hasn't already been said? Not a whole lot. This is by far what really put them on the map, what really got people to know who they were. This is by far one of the most unique and different albums I had ever heard. It's just an incredible album. Seeing this live was just life-changing for me. It was incredible. Yeah, I mean, this is what really got me into Between the Buried and Me, to really just have me be a fangirl. The album artwork is some of my favorite. It's just simple and clean. And this is actually a second press, so it's not a first press. I know these first presses can go for an insane amount of money. And they just repressed these because I think this is the 20th anniversary. This came out 2007, so not the 20th anniversary. But yeah, just that artwork for a long time was also the background on my computer. So yeah, this is one of my more prized possessions in my vinyl collection. It's definitely beat up a little bit because it's one of the first vinyls I ever bought when I started collecting. But I absolutely love this album. It's incredible. White Walls will always go down in history as Between the Buried and Me is one of their greatest songs ever. Seeing that live was incredible. There is a live album of this, Colors Live, which the vinyl is incredibly hard to find, and I unfortunately got it for an insane amount of money. We don't want to talk about that, but and they also have a DVD, so if you've ever want to watch an amazing live show, watch Colors Live. Paul Wagner, just fucking incredible guitarist. Like, his solos on this album are amazing, but like, yeah, do I need to talk about any of these songs? Like Foam Born A and then transitions into B, like, I don't, just this prequel to the sequel, Viridian, White Walls, Son of Nothing, Answer the Sky, like, just incredible album. Amazing. And when I first heard this, I don't think I listened to anything else for months. Like, months. People thought I was nuts, that I just didn't listen to anything else, but I became obsessed. This is when they became one of my all-time favorite bands. Really quickly, the vinyl is this purpley marble vinyl. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is the second pressing. But yeah, this is a pretty much holy grail vinyl in my collection. I will never get rid of it. I will never sell it. You cannot give me an amount of money to sell this. I will always love this album. It is one of my all-time favorite albums too. And again, this was on Victory Records. So if you're able to find the represses of these, definitely do it. They're gorgeous. I did not buy them. I wish I kind of had. So I might just get the black LP so I can beat that to shit and leave this one alone. So I'm definitely on the hunt for that. But yeah, Colors is my number 2. And then finally, my number 1. And there's a little bit of a personal story around this. So that pretty much makes it why it's my number 1, is the Great Misdirect. So I feel like in terms of their albums, this might have been one of their more underrated albums. At the time of it coming out, I don't remember a whole lot of press around it. It came out in 2009, and this is their final Victory Records album. But to me, I feel like this is just their best album. A lot of people are going to disagree with me. I know there's a lot of people that just don't like this album and they think it sucks. But for the most part, for me, it came at a time when my life was just a nightmare. And I met a group of friends that were obsessed with Between the Buried and Me, and we bonded really closely over this album, and it has a lot of nostalgia to it. So when this album was released, I admittedly did not pick it up right away, because at the time of my life, I wasn't really buying a whole lot of music back then. But when I did finally sit down with this album, I was just blown away. It is a gatefold, and I believe this is a first press. It's the first press translucent orange double LP. And yeah, there is a song on here that is my all-time favorite Between the Buried and Me song. It is called Swim to the Moon. It's an amazing song. It's just got everything you could ever imagine. It's a very long song, but it's definitely worth it. There's solos, it's incredible. If you've never heard Swim to the Moon, listen to that song. Mirrors, Obsification, Disease, Injury, Madness, Fossil Genera, The Desert of Song, all incredible songs. That's the whole album. The whole album I listened to beginning to end, no skips, still sing it like crazy. And one of the best moments I've ever seen Between the Buried and Me live is when they played Swim to the Moon. I've seen them several times, and every time I had seen them, they didn't play that song. And then finally, one of the last times I saw them, they played it, and I was so happy. So yeah, this is my number 1 Between the Buried and Me album. I absolutely love it. Like I said, Swim to the Moon is one of my all-time favorite songs that they've ever written, along with White Walls, which is just, yeah, no shit. But Desert of Song is a very different acoustic song on here. Paul sings it. It's incredible. Tommy also is on there. But yeah, great album. Just like I said, there's a lot of nostalgic, a lot of memories attached to this, where just me and one of my best friends just fangirled out, fanboyed out, and he's a boy, over this album and this band, and that's when we just really got close. And just, yeah, I mean, this album is just amazing. I absolutely love it. And someday those arrows will be tattooed on me. I will do that someday. So that's it. Tell me, you guys, what is your favorite Between the Buried and Me album, if you listen to them? If not, give them a chance. I know it's not death metal, but it's one of my favorite bands, so I always enjoy talking about them. Absolutely love what they do, and I'm excited to hear their new albums. I know that they're currently either writing, or they finished it, or working on it or something. They do occasionally stream on Twitch and stuff like that, so yeah, they're active right now. It makes me happy. So that's all I've got for you. Again, let me know what your favorite Between the Buried and Me album is, and I am gonna think about the next kind of video that I'll do for this. Probably gonna be Tool. Maybe. We'll see. All right, guys. Thanks again for all the support.